working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. We are moving to the next stage of the pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. And now to the news. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We would like to welcome His Excellency, Honorable Joseph Delmar Yap, Ambassador of the Philippines to Singapore. Good afternoon from Manila, Ambassador.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for granting our request for this interview. How is our Filipino community over there in Singapore, Ambassador?
Okay naman po. They're doing well. As you know, Singapore now has what we call the circuit breaker measure. So effectively, parang lockdown na rin. What they're doing effectively is only essential businesses are allowed to be open. And then everybody else, if they want to work from home. And then you're only allowed to leave your house for essential chores like buying food or visiting a doctor, etc. So no social visits at all are allowed. When you leave the house, you must wear a mask. If you do not wear a mask, you will be fined 300 Singapore dollars for not wearing a mask. So they're actually quite strict about that, and especially for OFWs, if you are caught violating, you run the risk na baka ma-cancel yung work permit mo. So that's a potential din that they can do to you, is because if you don't follow the rules, they could possibly cancel your work permit and send you home. So in general, we're all following the rules quite strict.
So compliance is quite successful naman po among OFWs. Wala naman pong nahuhuli po na lumalabag po?
Wala naman po. Wala. That we have heard of. Normally, we would know kung may reports, dahil the police will advise the embassy if any of our nationals get into trouble.
How is work in the embassy, Ambassador? How is it affected? Any adjustments po with the new normal in the workplace?
Yes, unfortunately, because of the strict circuit breaker rules, we had to also adjust our work procedures in the embassy. So basically, we're doing most of the work now at home, work from home, but we maintain a skeleton force in the embassy to handle emergency cases. And then we continue to handle naman some of the activities na hindi talaga ma-postpone. So for emergency cases, we allow them to go to the embassy, but they have to schedule it first by appointment. So everything now is by appointment only. But we continue to handle siguro mga 50 clients a day who come to the embassy. Because they need, for example, hindi na kami nag-extend ng no renewal of passports in the meantime. But what we do is we extend the passport if they need it for renewing their passes, for example, and their work permits and residency. So we do that emergency extension. That's allowed under these conditions. But the rest of it, everything is by appointment. But we also have naman yung mga hotlines natin where people can call us if they have emergencies that need assistance from the embassy.
Singapore's new coronavirus cases are mostly among the migrant workers in the news po, no, living in dormitories in the city-state.
Yes.
And which is among the highest number of coronavirus infections in Asia. But migrant workers, as we know, around the world have been most vulnerable during this pandemic. Are there Filipinos involved here, and how is the government addressing this? And if there are Filipinos, how are we addressing the migrant workers po?
Okay. Two things, no. We have about 60 as of yesterday. We have 67 Filipino OFWs who have been diagnosed positive for coronavirus. So 32 of them actually have already been discharged, and 35 are still in the hospitals. So these are the ones that are our cases.
Okay.
Now, doon sa migrant workers staying in dormitories, there are very, very few Filipinos who are living in these migrant worker dormitories. Most of the workers who live there are yung mga involved in construction, in sanitation, garbage collection, yung mga ganun. Most of the time naman, our OFWs do not work in that sector. So, but there are still a few cases of people staying of OFWs staying in the dorms. So I think out of the 67 cases we have, there's about 4 or 5 of them that are linked to itong mga dormitories. But most of the people living in the dormitories are really mga Indians and Bangladeshis. They're the ones who really do most of the manual work dito sa Singapore.
The government also has a one-time cash aid of $200 for Filipinos whose jobs were affected by the pandemic. How are our Filipinos? Are Filipinos they're getting this aid as well?
Yes po. So far, we have through our polo, we've disbursed to 500 kababayans who have qualified for this help. Itong help kasi is only for those who are affected by the pandemic, meaning they lost their jobs or their pay has been cut and so on. So we have been we open up for mga applications, and they have sent in those who feel that they are qualified for the aid, they have sent in their documents, and our polo is the one reviewing the documents, and so far they have approved 500. And this has already been paid out. As of yesterday, we paid out 500.
Paano naman po kung hindi sila affected ng sakit or talagang na-lay off lang ho sila? How are we addressing our kababayan?
I think if they're laid off they're also qualified for the help naman. But also, what happens kasi for the layoffs, many of them may choose to still stay and try to look for another work, another job, no? Although, of course, it's going to be difficult as time goes on because, syempre, they're expecting Singapore will have a recession. But even then, there are certain places that require workers, and there are certain sectors that are. So far, nakikita natin that's been affected are, of course, the aviation sector, the F&B, mga hotels. These are the ones that's been affected. But some of the large companies, for example, what they've done, for example, sa aviation sector, some of them have put their employees on unpaid leave in the meantime. They put them on unpaid leave for 3 months, and they have repatriated them to the Philippines muna. Now, what will happen is once the industry opens up again, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, they will recall the employees. They will fly them back here, so they will get their jobs back. So that is what some of the big companies have done here.
May nagpapatanong po, Ambassador, what is Singapore's unique initiatives and best practices in their fight against COVID?
Health-wise, I think Singapore actually has a very good process, no, for handling it. Kasi, the way they do it, for example, is they have about 300 GP clinics spread out all over the country. So if you feel unwell, if you have a cold or you have a cough or whatever, and you want to check, you go to see these GP clinics muna. You don't have to go to the hospitals because you might be afraid baka mahawa ka with COVID or whatever. So you go to the clinics. Now the clinics, the doctor will evaluate you whether he will ask you to take a COVID test or not. Now more and more of these clinics are now actually able to conduct tests. So when they do the test, they'll send you home muna, tell you to isolate yourself. And when the results come in, if it's negative, then it's good. But if it's positive, they will call an ambulance to pick you up from your house and bring you to the hospital. And there you will be isolated. So lahat ng positive cases here in Singapore are isolated. So you cannot be sick and be at home. So lahat they bring to the hospital. Now, in the hospital, you're isolated. So even us in the embassy, for example, we cannot visit yung mga OFWs natin. We just only coordinate through the Ministry of Health. We give them the number of the embassy, so in case our kababayans want to call us, they can call us. And some of them have. But most of the time, tumatawag lang naman sila because they're bored, they just want to have somebody to talk to. And so normally they're okay naman. Most of our cases, in fact, all of our cases are just hindi naman serious cases. So they're just in the hospital. And then after isolation, what will happen is pag wala ng what they call are clinically well, meaning wala ng symptoms, they will test you twice within 24 hours to see if they can release you. But you have to be negative 2 times before they will release you. So for those that are awaiting the test, they move them outside of the hospital to an isolation facility. So currently, actually, most of the people that are diagnosed, because right now there are 14,951 cases, no? But of this, only 1,889 are in the hospitals. And only 21 are in the ICU. So they actually have a very small number in ICU. But they have almost 12,000 outside in what they call isolation facilities.
Yes.
They're supposed to be no symptoms na, waiting to be discharged, but waiting for the test results. So yung vast majority are this category.
Ambassador, may nagpapatanong pa po, may mga questions kayo. If there has been any repatriation of OFWs from there back to the Philippines, and are there any plans to repatriate?
As I said, the ones that have been repatriated so far, we've assisted in 2 flights of repatriation. But these are mostly the ones that I was saying who are working in the aviation sector. So the repatriation was paid for by their employers, but we just assisted them in arranging with the airlines and also arranging yung mga process by the time when they get to the Philippines to make sure that it goes smoothly. Now, so far, wala pa kasi enough people that need to be repatriated to justify chartering of a specific flight. Kasi a charter flight requires maybe about 150, 160 passengers. So far, the people nga nagpapatulong in repatriation, we're actually able naman to put them on scheduled flights. Because Singapore Airlines still flies to the Philippines. So Singapore Airlines still has 2 flights yata a week. And then, as I said, every now and then, Philippine Airlines will have flights. So the 2 repatriation flights that we helped with, these were done through Philippine Airlines.
Okay. I just want to ask, the street food industry at this time, I'm asking not just because I'm a fan of it, but because also it is an indicator of the readiness of the small and marginal scale economy to advance to the next stage of this crisis. How is it for the street food industry there in Singapore, which is famous also for that industry?
Yeah, unfortunately kasi part of yung circuit breaker measures was they had to close down to mga hawkers. So, but they didn't close down. Sorry, I take it back. They don't allow dine-in. They don't allow dine-in. So, take-out lang, take-out or deliveries.
So, pwede pa rin po. Meron pa din
Pwede
po.
pa rin. But it has to be take-out lang. So, if you buy, you go there, they pick it up and go home with it. So, bawal dun sa hawker center to eat. Again, may penalty yon, fine yon if you eat in the hawker center. Not only you, pati Pati yung restaurant.
Tindahan, opo.
Tindahan will also be fine.
And we know that Filipinos are known for their bayanihan, especially during these times of crisis. Do we have activities there wherein Filipinos can actively participate or help na aktibong makakatulong po ang mga Pilipino ngayong panahon ng krisis, ng pandemic po?
Actually, a lot of the help na lang po is has to be virtual. It's really online dahil physically no more physical contact is allowed. Actually, they passed a law. They passed a law a few weeks back that you cannot have any social contact with somebody who is not the immediate family member who is living with you. So meaning you cannot even visit a friend kahit na dalawa lang kayo, one-on-one, bawal yon. That's against the law to do it now under this circumstance. So whatever has been done is really through the online, but a lot of people have reached out naman and they've been able to, for example, gather donations. The embassy has actually facilitated several batches of donations of masks and PPEs to the Philippines, to the frontliners in the Philippines, which were gathered by our kababayans here in Singapore. So we've sent back several shipments to the different hospitals, public hospitals in the Philippines.
Okay, so maraming salamat po, Ambassador, for your time. Thank you for taking care of our Filipino community in Singapore. Please stay healthy and responsive to our fellow Filipinos. Mabuhay po kayo. Thank you so much.
Thank you po. Thank you.
All right, ASEAN in Focus. We'll be right back.
Maraming salamat po sa nurse na nag-asikaso sa amin ng anak ko kahit sobrang busy niya.
Hindi po ako iniwan ng doktor hanggang sa umayos ang pakiramdam ko. Salamat po talaga.
Thank you po sa nursing assistant na pumansin agad sa amin pagdating namin ng ospital.
Thank you so much po talaga sa lahat ng staff ng ospital, maging sa mga utility po, dahil gumaling po ako dahil sa kanila.
Ating pasalamatan at pangalagaan ang mga magigiting na health workers.
Kung magtatagumpay tayo, salamat. Kung mag-fail tayo, salamat. Ang importante po, sinubukan natin, ginawa natin yung makakaya natin.
Napatunayan ko na yung talent na binigay sa akin ng Diyos, mas may expose pa. Kaya sa mga ibang artist dyan, lalo na sa mga may kapansanan din, mag-explore pa tayo ng ibang bagay tulad nito. Huwag tayong magtago, huwag tayong mahihiya. Gawin natin kung ano yung gusto talaga nating gawin.
This program is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Vet-approved Nutri-Chunks, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and probiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo ganado ang fur babies nyo. Listo ganado sa Nutri-Chunks. Co-presented by Kubert, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Kubert, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee. Masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Unlad Incorporated International. Fight against global poverty. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint. Color for protection for your home. Matimco. Matimco is wood. Wood is Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. CompuZell Computer Services, ID card and lanyard manufacturer. Saisho International Trading Corporation. DN Steel. EMAC UPVC Roof Corporation.
Skyway Stages 1 and 2, the elevated toll road system project, run from a section of the South Luzon Expressway from Alabang to Magallanes, Makati. The Skyway Stage 3 is an elevated expressway connecting the South Luzon Expressway through the existing Skyway Stages 1 and 2 to the North Luzon Expressway via Balintawak. Skyway Stage 4 is an 80-kilometer mixed elevated and at-grade toll road that will connect the existing Skyway system starting from the FTI section all the way to Bulacan.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks. With active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Welcome back. And now we would like to welcome Mr. Natapanu Nopakun, Thailand's Deputy Director General of the Department of Information and the Deputy Spokesman of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. We are honored to have you with us, sir. Good afternoon from Manila.
Hello, good afternoon. Sawasdee krap.
Okay, so please share with us how Thailand is taking care of its citizens during this time of the coronavirus pandemic from health and economic perspective, sir.
Yes, sure. So first of all, of course, the personal health precautions that we've been repeating quite often, washing hands, wearing masks, keeping 2 meters of social distancing, even at home or in vehicles. And of course, we've announced a curfew as well as a flight ban, which has been extended until the end of May. Mm-hmm. In terms of economic assistance, there is the sort of like a cash handout for those who are qualified, around 5,000 baht for 3 months for those who are qualified, as well as other measures in terms of helping small businesses and everything, because with the curfew and with the precautions, businesses would have to be closed most of the times. But we are relaxing those measures in part of discussing to essential businesses, perhaps starting next week.
Sir, some 35 of Thailand's 77 provinces, if I'm not mistaken, have not reported any cases in the last 2 weeks. Now, Bangkok and Phuket account for half of all the infections. Is this the basis for plans to ease the state of emergency and partial lockdown ban?
Yes, it is part of the basis. Around half of the provinces of Thailand have not seen new cases in the past 14 days. But, I mean, we're not satisfied. Of course, we want to be more stringent, so we increase the number of days. So now we don't count 14 days. We want to count 28 days. So half of the provinces, none in 14 days. So for 28 days, we have around 9 or 10 provinces, and we hope that it's going to go up, provinces with no cases at all for 28 days. Mm-hmm. And yes, you mentioned, that's correct, Bangkok and Phuket, where a lot of the tourist and expat community live, and of course a hub in southern Thailand as well, and in Bangkok. So we discovered that the most is by close contact with COVID-infected people or the various clusters of the sources. There was a boxing stadium in Bangkok that was one of the main sources in the first week. Cases like those flying in from abroad, and then not knowing that they had COVID and they were in touch with people. So these are the basis of our measure. So we're relaxing some, but we're maintaining some as appropriate. So the curfew remains, but next week, as I mentioned, some businesses might be open, like they were talking about barbers and hairdressers and some restaurants, because they are essential, because or else we all have long hair. so we will open some of these businesses, but with rules like this, for example, barbers. We will not have people lining up in barbers, and guests have to come in, cut, and then leave. Things like that, just for example.
The World Health Organization has recently reiterated the need for testing and contract tracing to be put in place before easing or considering easing city lockdowns. Could you give us an update on the progress of Thailand's test kits and contact tracing?
Yes, yes. Well, I'm a diplomat. I'm not a public health expert, but from this crisis experience, we all have a learning curve. So that's very important that you mentioned, yes. So contact tracing, we try to trace every contact, that's how to put it simply, whether they came from abroad or from which source was the first infection, and then who it was transferred to. So to date, we have been able to do contact tracing for almost all the cases. We know where it's from. That's what I mean. So it's from a flight on this X day from this country. This person was whatever, and then he was in contact. So we know the history behind each one to date. But the method that we do is a cluster of people who are at risk, or we have some information about their possible risk. So we go straight to that cluster, or we call it active case finding, and then test people in that active case cluster. Instead of a mass testing for the whole population, which may not be effective and not doable now. So this kind of testing, I think there is the active case testing of around 20,000 people per day, which I think compared to other countries, it might not be that high, but then it's cluster-based, so it might be more targeted. 20,000 per day.
Many are facing mental health challenges in these strange and interesting times. People find it hard to adapt due to self-isolation, curfews, restrictions, and sometimes economic hardship. In the ASEAN countries and in some other countries, domestic violence has been reported to be on the rise. Does Thailand have a crisis center or hotline to address problems like these?
Yes, you're very right. We have issues like these as well in terms of domestic violence, because when you have to work at home or stay indoors, it naturally you have to have adaptation, for example. So those cases, in terms of violation of curfew as well. And we also have cases of people being stressed out. So the Department of Mental Health of Thailand is trying to address this issue. There was just one recent case last week of a woman who thought that she was not qualified for the financial assistance that I mentioned. She thought that she was not qualified. So she went to protest in front of the finance ministry and tried to commit suicide. So, and there were one or two other cases of suicide as well, because COVID has affected the livelihood and income of people. So we're trying to address that. We're trying to address that in terms of having people be aware of what they have, the blessings in life they have. Firstly, of course, the family that they have, the potential that they have, the strength that they have to fight COVID. And of course, with the financial assistance, we'll try to be as inclusive. We'll try to be as inclusive as possible, and not only have only one financial assistance scheme, other types of schemes as well. But of course, it has taken a toll, of course, on mental health. We're trying to come out with songs, cartoons, caricatures as well, to have the general population understand, and not be too stressed out. Join in the fight together, but with confidence, but not.
So on the economic aspect, as you were talking about on this crisis, we have learned that the government has also eased electricity bills by offering discounts. I just read it in the news, like frugal households consuming under 150 units electricity won't have to pay anything. And also, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has written to 20 of the country's richest tycoons for help in addressing the socio-economic impact of this pandemic. So I guess this is how Thailand is also helping its citizens there.
Yes. So for utilities, mostly water is not that expensive in Thailand, but electricity is. So for those who use lower than 150 units, I'm not sure what megawatts or something, lower than 150, you won't have to pay. But if it's higher than 150, there'll be a reduced discount. And then higher than 800 units, which means like big houses, there will be another discount. Stay at home, work at home, of course, makes people have to spend more at home. In terms of air conditioning, it's hot in Thailand. You know, in our ASEAN countries, it's always like tropical weather. So
True.
also
Yes.
like in terms of the utilities, yeah. So that's what we're trying to address.
Let's talk about tourism now. What are the plans for Thailand's famous tourism industry to bounce back in the short and medium term?
Today I saw a news that Chinese tourists were interested in coming back very soon already to Thailand, but of course that will not be possible yet as long as the flight ban is still in place. So that's until the end of May at least first. But nevertheless, we're preparing for a possible comeback. I'm not sure when. There was a survey saying that Thailand might be ready for a comeback, but other countries might be ready in November. But I'm not very sure about that assessment because there still has to be, our guard still has to be up. So if we open up too fast, that's a risk. But if we open up too slow, the tourist industry will be affected and all the businesses will be affected. So we just have to probably slow but sure, perhaps, and find a balance. We really want tourists to come back to Thailand because it's always been a big tourist destination. 40 million people per year. Many Filipinos as well, of course.
Yes.
Tourists and expats to Thailand. So we hope that right now it's just a small temporary pause. I hope. But meanwhile, the Tourism Authority of Thailand has been coming out with like press or media products as well. That it's just a temporary pause. The temples, all the sites, all these tourist sites are kind of empty or quiet now, but it's just temporary, and the places are waiting for you to return. That's the.
So you touched upon the financial aid and subsidy but how are the migrant workers taken care of given the several economic priorities of the Thailand government?
Yes, so for migrant, the biggest group is of course the foreign migrant workers in terms of the labor, around 3 to 4 million in Thailand, and we've been taking care of them as we always have been. Firstly, is we want to them to postpone their mass movement or travel because in the middle of this month in April there was the Songkran festival in Thailand. It's a big festival wherein labor from Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, 3 million, 4 million, they wanted to return to their countries to celebrate that festival because it's a common festival. We wanted to persuade them not to because traveling back to their countries would transport possibly the risk of COVID or back and forth. So in terms of the health facilities and precautions, they have always been inclusive of the migrant community. The hospitals in some provinces with a big Myanmar labor, they speak Myanmar language in the hospital, so it's been inclusive. And the Thai owners of establishments or factories that hire these migrants are also aware of the different rules that we have put in place, in terms of compensation if the company if the factory is closed or if salary is not to be is delayed or things are affected by COVID. So the Thai factory owners are also aware of these measures. The business loans, the paying debts, they are postponed. They are being assisted by the government, and even tax filing is also being postponed. The deadline is being postponed, and so that's for the labor group. For the expat group in Thailand, there are a lot also, foreigners, Westerners, Asians, or Filipinos also. So the expat group in different sectors, I think they will benefit from when, as I mentioned, when the businesses will be starting to open up again. As I mentioned, we're discussing that for next week. Because if the restaurants are having closed and have only delivery, like in the Philippines, delivery food only, that will make the staff have probably less working hours and less income. But this week we're discussing it for full opening next week, but with rules, just like the barber shop. So with rules for restaurants that you can sit far from each other, blah, blah, and all these details. Not only the delivery, but we come back to restaurants. So if there are Filipinos in restaurants in Thailand, more work hours will be in place soon. If there are Filipinos in, I believe there are many nurses, Filipino nurses in Thai hospitals as well, or in the service industry, in hotels and everything. Yeah, so everything will come back in full bloom soon next week. And so hoping that will help the foreign community in terms of work hours and their but in terms of the other benefits, of course, if it's a private sector, we can't go into that or touch that much if it's in terms of their salary and everything.
Yes.
I hope that our measures are inclusive. That's in summary.
On a lighter topic, sir, how are the Thai people coping? Is it similar to most other countries where remote working arrangements are the current mode and where social media, movie streaming takes up most of one's daily preoccupation?
Yes. So most of the Thais are working from home. And here in my office, it's around 50%. But some of my friends in the private sector are saying that their bosses still want them to come to the office because they're essential. They need to make money in the business sector. I'm in the government sector, so it's different. So the service industry probably cut by half because it's only half kind of service. But if it's like doing paperwork or substantive policy stuff, you can do that at home with research and everything. We hope to have this become the new norm. I'm not sure if in the Philippines they're talking about this, the new normal in Thailand, for the better, meaning that everything we do now, we can continue it and not have crowded restaurants, not have so much traffic, have work from home shifts, make life better and easier and healthier as well, because all this helps for a new normal for
Sir, lastly, would you like to give a message to Filipinos, not only Filipinos, but to everywhere around the world watching you right now?
I hope that the people in the Philippines or in Thailand will continue on with this battle with the common enemy, COVID. We're in the same boat. Tomorrow will be better. And as I mentioned in every press briefing that I have at the COVID center here in Thailand, we're one and the same. And the world is us, and we are the world. We're part of the same battle. So I think we can overcome soon. Some countries might take longer. Some countries, a very good test, I think, for humanity.
Yes.
In our lifetime, it's good that we have this test, and we will overcome, because we've been overcoming a long time. Cooperation in the ASEAN framework, in the UN framework, between countries, bilaterally, in humankind. We've always had many challenges: the Spanish flu, World War I, World War II, and everything. So I think it's something that we look forward to more strength. So I wish more strength and more power to people in the Philippines, in Thailand as well, and in ASEAN and in the world.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And on behalf of Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, we thank you, and we really appreciate this time that you have for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Swadika.
All right, let's go now to Malaysia. The Philippine Embassy there sent home 183 stranded Filipinos. We have a report coming in from Ruby Tinawin. Hello, Ruby.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ruby. What are your updates for us?
Yes, Alma, this is good news. Yesterday, 183 Filipinos stranded here in Malaysia were finally sent home after the Philippine Embassy in Kuala Lumpur organized a mass repatriation with the support of the Department of Foreign Affairs in Manila via a Philippine Airlines chartered flight that departed in the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. That was yesterday afternoon. The repatriated Filipinos were composed of Filipino tourists and OFWs who approached the embassy for assistance. After being stranded here due to the unexpected cancellation of flights starting from March 18, and the containment measures of both Malaysia and the Philippines to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Philippine Ambassador to Malaysia, Charles Jose, in his statement has assured that the embassy remains strongly committed to assist Filipinos in distress, especially those who were severely impacted by the spread of COVID-19. This includes helping our kababayan get home safely. The chartered flight, which was fully funded by the Philippine government, was made possible through the efforts of the Philippine Embassy and the DFA. Due to this, the Filipino repatriates, most of whom were already experiencing financial difficulties due to their unexpected prolonged stay in Malaysia, did not have to pay for their return airfare. These stranded Filipinos were indeed grateful for the prompt action and assistance by the Philippine Embassy here in Kuala Lumpur. Let's listen to some of them, Alma.
Gratitude from us. Thank you. Thank you po sa pag-assist na kasama na ako sa papauwi ng...
Una-una po sa lahat gusto ko magpasalamat sa Philippine Embassy dahil nung nag-try kami na humingi ng tulong.
Nabagok yung ulo ko 2 beses.
Humingi po kami ng tulong sa kanila. Mabilis pa kami nilang inaksyonan. Hindi po kami nila pinabayaan hanggang sa pag-request namin ng shelter at saka sa foods. Pati po sa flight namin, sila po yung tumulong sa amin. So, sobrang thank you po sa Philippine Embassy, lalo na po kay Sir Kim Guro na hindi po kami pinabayaan hanggang sa huli. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, we are our first time to be here in Malaysia. So, nagpapasalamat kami because you gave us hope and we feel that the government and the embassy is really there for us. So, it's a very big gratitude from us. Yeah, thank you. Thank you po sa pag-assist na kasama na ako sa papauwi ng Pinas.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
One more time.
Very much sa government po, Philippine government, maraming sa government na nandito sa Malaysia ngayon, na makaka-uwi kami ng free po. Maraming salamat po.
Daghang kayong salamat ha sa imong pagsingit sa ako sa eroplano. Hay, nag-advantage ko og kanang unsa na email sa imuha. Bisag dili ko kay balo nakatunan jud ako ang mag-email para lang sakay sa eroplano. Og daghang kayong salamat nga naisingit ko din.
Yes, Alma, while queuing for check-ins, these repatriates were provided face masks by the embassy team assisting them at the airport. They were also provided breakfast packs distributed to them by Post OWA team. Now, upon this embarkation at NAIA, the repatriated Filipinos obviously will be subjected to mandatory health assessment by the Department of Health Bureau of Quarantine. This mass repatriation follows an earlier effort on 5th April, when 83 other stranded Filipinos were able to board a special flight from Kuala Lumpur to Manila, co-organized by the Philippine Embassy, DFA, and the Malaysian Embassy in Manila. The embassy extended its thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Malaysia for facilitating the arrangement for the chartered flight and the safe passage of Filipino passenger on the way to the airport while Malaysia's movement control order is in place. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Ruby, so how is the recovery and infection rate of Malaysia doing right now?
It's good, Alma. This is the 12th day that Malaysia has actually, in terms of new cases, it's all below the 100 mark. And the number of, or the percentage of people recovering is 67%, which is really considered one of the highest, Alma.
So are lockdown measures gradually easing right now?
Oh yes, as of today also they allowed those business sectors that were partially operating during the phase 1 to 3 of MCO, because now is the beginning of phase 4, as you know, we're extended until May 12. So those business sectors were allowed to operate in full. So they do not need to apply for any permit anymore because they were given earlier. However, as what the government said, they need to comply with the standard operating procedure and still maintain social distancing and all other recommended measures to continue to curb COVID-19.
All right. Thank you so much, Ruby. Thank you for your time and stay healthy always for us. We'll be waiting for more updates from Malaysia. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Alma, reporting live here in Malaysia. This is Ruby Tinawin. We live in interesting times.
Let's go over to Phuket, Thailand, and the Tambon lockdown measures have already been eased. Let's find out what that means from our EBC correspondent in Phuket, Mary Grace Alvarez. Hello, Mary Grace. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alma, and to all our viewers. By the way, just to give you an insight on my background, I am touring you virtually on what you can visit here in Phuket once the COVID-19 totally eliminated. This is Rawai Beach, one of the best attractions here in Phuket. So moving on to our headlines, Phuket will start opening up again with the most travel restrictions between sub-districts to be lifted, excepting 5 areas on the island which are still considered at risk. The meeting of the Phuket Communicable Disease Committee considered opening the boundaries between every sub-district except for 5 locations, which are Bangla Road in Patong Sub-District, Village Mu 2, 3 and 5, Bang Tao Village in Cheng Talay Sub-District, routes in and out of Tepkasatri Road, Mu 2 in the Kokiao Sub-District, Mu 2 Soy Bangchi in Ratchada Sub-District, and Chao Pha Garden Village in the Wichit Sub-District. People will still be required to wear a face mask in public at all times, washing their hands and maintaining social physical distance protocols. There was no date on the notice to say when the Tambon restrictions are being lifted, but it is believed to apply after midnight on April 30. If the sub-districts will reopen in May 1, all residents of Phuket must install the More Chana app, and all businesses need to follow standard procedures to safeguard their own businesses. This app has been developed by the Digital Government Development Agency so that people can stay updated with the latest developments in the COVID-19 outbreak and receive advice from the doctors and nurses. Just a quick update, Alma, on the COVID-19 situation here in Phuket. Phuket marks second COVID death yesterday. The death reported yesterday was one of the 3 people in the hospital suffering from severe symptoms of the disease. The report also marked 7 new confirmed cases being identified, bringing the total number of 214 COVID-19 infected in Phuket. And last but not least, Alma, is a good news. Last week, the Church of Christ, or the Iglesia ni Cristo in Phuket, held the Aid to Humanity for people who were affected by the pandemic. It was spearheaded by the resident minister and all other church officers. They hand out good bags to recipients and while practicing physical distance and wearing face masks. The recipients expressed their gratitude to the church administration for the continuous help and support even in these unprecedented times. Alma?
I think you brought you sent us some pictures on the Lingap over there in Phuket. So what were in the bags that were distributed in the Aid to Humanity?
Actually, Alma, I am one of the recipients.
Okay.
Yes. And the good bags includes 5 kilograms of rice, and then some noodles and soaps and sardines.
Okay, so how many were able to receive the goodie bags? Were there many? Yes, okay.
Okay, almost all of the members of the Church of Christ here in Phuket received the good bags.
Okay, and were there also non-members who received some goodie bags from the Aid to Humanity?
Yes, of course.
Yes, okay. And what about social distancing measures? Were they applied during this Aid to Humanity?
Yes, Alma. One person at a time can allow to go outside to receive the goodie bags.
Okay, I was waiting for the pictures, but it didn't come out, so it's okay. Oh, there you go. There they are.
Yes.
That's a big goodie bag.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mary Grace, for that update. And please stay healthy, and we'll be waiting for more updates over there in Phuket. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Alma. This is Mary Grace Alvarez reporting live from Phuket, Thailand, and we live in interesting times.
In California, Governor Newsom outlined a roadmap to gradually reopen for business. MJ Racadio joins us live from Sacramento. Hello, MJ.
Hi, Alma.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Very good. Good afternoon there in Manila and good evening here in California. Well, let's go with the number right now. As of 9 hours ago, here in California, there has been 45,031 confirmed positive cases of COVID-19, and 3,455 of those are in the hospitals, and 1,181 are those in the ICU. And for the Los Angeles County, it's the highest case in California. It's 20,976, and there have been 1,000 cases of deaths. And here, where I live, which is California's capital, there are 1,053 cases of COVID-19 and 41 deaths. Now, with that said, 5 hours ago, according to the mayor of Los Angeles, has reached an agreement to purchase 24 million N95 masks. Now, this will be given to our first responders and distributed at cost to hospitals in need. The first 100,000 will be delivered in May. And in terms of opening the economy here in California, Alma, there's going to be a four phase. Now, according to California's governor, Newsom, that with retail businesses and schools weeks away based on apparent stabilization in both the numbers of confirmed cases and deaths due to coronavirus. And now, according to his Twitter, that stage 1 is where the state now. And staying at home, working on flattening the curve. Now the second stage involves lifting restrictions. So on some lower risk workplaces such as retail, manufacturing, and offices where telework is not possible, now reopening childcare centers will be part of that second stage as well. Now let's go on to the phase stage 3, months, not weeks away. Newsom said the stage will encompass rather personal care business like gyms, spas and salons, sports without live audiences, in-person religious services, and other businesses where workers come in close contact with customers. Now, in the final phase, Alma, we'll see the end of stay-at-home order, with the reopening the highest risk parts of our economy being reopened. And Newsom said in his Twitter that includes concerts, convention centers, and sports with live crowds. So, and also in addition to that, Newsom said the stage would come only once therapeutics have been developed rather. So that is the stage 1 to phase 1 to phase 4, Alma, here in California, reopening the economy.
Okay, so in what stage is California right now?
We are currently in stage 1.
Stage 1, staying home and working on flattening the curve. Yes.
Yes, the phase 2, it's slowly it's like weeks from now. And then until we get to stage 3, months from now. So that's what's really going on, and still the essential needs is still a practice here. You could go out with social distancing, wearing your mask. But this past week, last weekend, according to Governor Newsom, that he's a bit disappointed because of the crowd in Newport Beach. So
yes, we all saw that.
people
Yes.
not flatten the curve. If you are just having fun in the beach like that, I mean, you know, we're doing very well, and now you showed up in the beach at the Newport Beach. So it's a bit disappointing with the governor. So,
And scary.
And I see it is scary. And I live next. There's a park next to me, and
okay.
they don't practice social distancing. So it makes me upset a little bit. And I know, but well, let's change it a bit with our. Let's put aside the COVID-19.
Okay.
Now, Trolls World Tour DreamWorks Animation. So, the Universal Pictures actually kind of disappointed because, you know, it's supposed to world premiere in the theater because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now it's being played on video on demand. But guess what? They actually made a lot of money, which is 100 million in premium video on demand. So that's a good news for the streaming services out there.
I mean, the Hollywood industry must be, is really affected by the pandemic.
Yes, but not the streaming services.
Yes.
And of course, all the shooting, especially the television and everything, the concerts, they're really affected big time. But for the streaming services, it's striving. But on the other hand, I just want to invite everyone. This is finally happening.
Go ahead.
EBC Films finally releasing the Guerrero 2, the Guerrero 1, Guerrero 2 online. So this is the best time, and it's free with limited time only. So go ahead and check out the YouTube channel of EBC Films. Check out Guerrero 2 and the part 1 as well.
So Guerrero 2 and 1 and 2.
Yes, it's very timely. And of course, I'm still getting ready. I hope that my first episode will be out soon for the entertainment blog. And I cannot wait to share that to everyone.
I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much, MJ, for your updates and the tips on the video streaming videos we can watch. And of course, we're going to watch you and watch out for your show. Thank you so much, MJ.
This is MJ Ricadio, reporting from Sacramento, California. We live in interesting times.
And thank you for joining us today on ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.